Hey everyone, my name's Jake Milstein. I'm here with Mike Hamilton. And unfortunately, we're coming to you in this video for some bad news. After a ransomware attack in 2021, an Illinois hospital announced today that at the end of this week, it is closing its doors permanently. They're done. Now, this is one of those milestone moments in hospitals being attacked by cyber attacks. And when we look back at the timeline of all of this, years ago, it started with just data exfiltration and patient records being taken. Then there was in Germany, somebody died because of a ransomware attack. And then in the US, a lawsuit in the Southeast over a baby dying that couldn't get care or didn't get care during a ransomware attack. That's a lawsuit that's going on. And now, this, for the first time, a hospital that had a ransomware attack closing its doors, and what they said is it's a domino effect. Right. So it's a domino effect in that they had all of these things going on, these financial pressures, and the cyber attack, was the thing that just they could not recover from. Mike, you have thoughts on this very, very important issue.
Yeah. Well, so there for a long time there has been a discussion as to whether security should come from market forces or through regulation. And in this case, neither one is working, right? So we got to try something different, all right? If these organizations were publicly traded, they would have to document this existential risk in their 10Q filings and all their investors would flee. Okay? So, market forces means hospitals go out of business. All right, we don't want that. Regulation, sure. Keep telling rural hospitals to go do things they can't afford. Sure, really, that's the definition of insanity. HHS, right? We don't need more regulations. We need help here. Right? This is not where we want market forces to rule. We do not want rural hospitals to close if they've failed to secure or adequately respond. Still, to a certain extent, these organizations are a casualty of our own system, and policy issues around rural health resilience should be a whole lot more vigorous than they are. All right. Their spectrum of problems is crazy. States don't expand Medicaid, so many bills just go unpaid. The way health professionals were treated during COVID, they just quit. I don't blame them. Employer employee relationships have all been recalibrated, and remote work is really attractive now, and you don't do that in a hospital. The replacement resources they had to get, the traveling nurses, 3 times the cost. Problems with the timeliness of the payers. The insurance industry is, got some fingerprints on this too. They can't invest to be secure or response ready. And there's all the knock-on effects, the class actions that follow these breach events now, the FTC enforcing the False Claims Act, uh, you know, and plus there's this enormous dependence on third parties who are compromised and lead to multiple breaches in organizations everywhere. So, you know, I mean, what we're doing is not working. Okay. Federal assistance is needed. And maybe that's a role for the National Guard. What is not needed is HHS telling hospitals yet again how they should be securing their networks and managing security. All right. All right. Again, the definition of insanity. All right. Maybe
Well,
we should
I
go
mean,
ahead.
as we look at the bad outcomes from ransomware, I mean, previously it was patient outcomes. Now it's an existential threat for the hospital, and as one person said about this hospital closure, it's now a half hour for somebody to get to the next closest emergency room, and they believe that will, you have a heart attack, it takes 30 minutes to get to the next closest hospital, that will lead to more bad patient outcomes. And, I talk to rural hospitals all the time, talk to a guy in Nevada, and the next closest hospital to him is 2.5 hours away. So if we're going to have rural hospitals closed, no, like we can't have that as a country. So Mike, what regulation aside, what should rural healthcare be doing right now?
Well, first of all, you have to prepare to take a punch. All right. Just the whole thing about the preventive controls. All right. Yeah, all that stuff is important. It's not going to work. You have to assume that you're going to get hit at some point and you got to get back up off the mat. And that's a lot of preparation, right? To be ready to do that. Personally, I think we need to make the analogy with, for example, uh, control rooms in energy generation. All right, there's an electronic security perimeter that's been defined around it, and nothing goes in or out. All right. And I'll tell you again, we took a lot of measurements. 40% compromised assets are due from the use of personal email. All right. Personal use on a personal device makes a whole bunch of the problem go away. That's scratching the surface, though. You know, maybe there's a role here for the National Guard. I'm starting to think that if we're going to be serious about this, federal government has got to deploy some resources. It can't be just in the form of money. Every time we spend money, there's a fist fight in Congress. Maybe the National Guard can be out there, as part of their training missions, securing rural health.
Yeah, and I mean, I think right now, rural hospitals, need to take note of this. We talk to a lot of hospital boards, and they always say, well, what's the bad outcome? Will insurance just cover the whole thing? That's what we're going to do. And I mean, what we're seeing is no, like that doesn't work. So, Mike talks about taking a punch. So prepare for an attack. That's, make sure you get your risk assessment and that you're checking off all the things that came up in your risk assessment. Make sure that you're building a strong IR plan and testing it with a tabletop exercise. The bad guy's still going to get in. Make sure that your network is being monitored 24/7, 365, because there's no way that these hospitals can have 10 or 15 security focused individuals. I mean, and then organizations that do, like Common Spirit, still have incidents. So make sure your network is monitored 24/7, 365, and then the response, make sure what that response looks like. Make sure you have an incident response retainer with somebody, so you have somebody you can call 24/7. Make sure you know what is in your cyber policy. What will they provide? What won't they provide? And what do you need to do? Make sure you have a law firm. Make sure that law firm is one of those first calls for all of that. If you need any help with any of that, shoot Mike an email, shoot me an email. I'm at jake@criticalinsight.com. Happy to, make referrals, happy to help with any of this. Our mission is to make sure that all critical infrastructure, including healthcare, is properly defended. And, on this day where we're talking about a hospital closing, that is more important than ever. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video. And again, if you have any questions, let us know. You can hit us up, criticalinsight.com, or Mike or me. Talk to you later.